So this is another Co-Pilots podcast.
I was wondering how long it would take you to realise that you were going to do the intro.
About 11 seconds.
Nice.
So we're back. We've got...
On the rag and ovulating.
Well, this has been
What
a great episode of Co-Pilots podcast. We'll see you next time. Because Joe's ovulating, we need to take him to the hospital.
I'm a medical marvel. Oh my god, it's so hot at the minute. Anyway, that's by the by. What are we watching?
Wow. I mean, I've already watched. If you still need to watch it, it's going to be a problem.
Nope, I shall form all my opinions based on conjecture.
Most excellent. Well, first up is Dracula, the 2013 one, not another one that apparently exists.
Yeah, with Mark Warren from 2006. Although that might have been a TV film or something. Oh yeah, it was a TV film.
Mark Warren, he's the Hustle guy, isn't he?
Yeah, and
Mad
Doctor Who,
Dogs
I
as
think.
well.
Yeah, and Mad Dogs. Was he in Doctor Who?
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
in the one with Peter Kay. It was awful.
Yeah, he was and Moaning Myrtle as well.
He was Moaning Myrtle.
No, Moaning Myrtle was in it as well.
We're doing Dracula first. Okay. Let me just swap these around. I'll swap them around. I'm ready.
Good. Yeah, it was alright.
Good.
I mean, I'm not super familiar with the actual novel, so the only stuff I know about is the really popular parts of the story. Like, he's a vampire.
Mhm. Really, I think you know.
I think I got that.
Decent grasp of the whole novel. There.
I think I got that, and there's some sunlight stuff that you can't do, like go in it.
It was quite interesting actually because the sunlight mythology it features in both. A lot of things are going to run concurrently between the two episodes we watched this week, but I found myself quite fascinated with how each one was dealing with the mythology of vampires and their characteristics and things.
It's quite interesting in general, aside from because even in Twilight they deal with it differently, but it's still a thing. They are pretty bad.
And then I watched the honest trailer for the last Twilight one, and they don't even sparkle. They couldn't be bothered to do it anymore.
Yeah, they just filmed it at night time.
Oh, that's confusing.
Well, a lot of it, they pick that part of the country because it's not very sunny very often. That's the reason that they're there.
Like 30 Days of Night.
Yeah, and basically the CGI department was like, can we put them somewhere rainy so we don't have to do this sparkling? But it is interesting to see how different adaptations deal with the same basic mythos.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny, isn't it? Because remakes and reimaginings and re-envisionings of things, it almost feels like they have to be of a certain age before you can start legitimately going, okay, it's just another interpretation. It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because modern stuff, you're like, oh no, don't remake XYZ.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, but stuff like, things based on classic novels or the Sherlock Holmes stories, and Shakespeare have all been interpreted in hundreds, millions of different ways.
It's because after a certain point, the novels become
Canonized.
And because they're in a set period of history as when they were written, or closer to when they were written, you can then just update rather than what with Sherlock's doing. It was written sort of in the end, sort of towards the end of the Victorian period. So you can just take those almost exact
overlapping into. I think it was just before World War One. They were still going. I don't know. Need to look it up.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, but because they were set in that era, they can then just be modernized rather than. So it's more. They become an adaptation instead of this is the story. Like with, I suppose Twilight's a pretty good example because it's just a modern vampire story. So you couldn't set that in a period of time because there's too much there that relies on modern technology.
But then equally, I think once you have interpretations that bring things up to date, so taking Dracula for example, there was Dracula 2001, which was weirdly enough set 2001, and then with this it's more, in keeping with the period where the novel was published and set.
Yeah, I think once
they get back on itself.
Yeah, once they get to a certain age, you can then go whichever way you want.
Go backward. Well, again, even with Sherlock, the what was it?
New Year's
Abominable
Christmas.
Bride thing.
Yeah,
that went back to its roots.
Yes.
Okay, so this interpretation of Dracula then. Who is he and what does he do?
Well, he's a vampire, he eats people. But it seems like the impression I got is that he spent a long time sort of in his sarcophagus-y, coffin-y thing. And
Yes.
then, was it Van Helsing that came to free him?
Spoiler.
Of episode 1, I feel like we can get away with that.
Yeah, probably.
On a show that came out 3 years ago.
Yeah. In 1881, in Romania. That's when he goes and digs him up and resurrects him. And then you jump to London in 1896.
Yeah, so he's trying to... it seems like he's trying to take over the world. Or I might have missed something.
How out of character. Well, no, it's he poses as an American entrepreneur, and it's as sort of the drama unfolded and the narrative became clearer, I found it absolutely fascinating that there's the Order of the Dragon, who previously was responsible for the deaths of Dracula's lover and generally nasty business. So he comes forward in time and manages to invent wireless electricity in 1896 in order to completely undercut the funding of the Order of the Dragon, which relies on oil.
It is an interesting sort of... I suppose that makes sense to set it in that time where that would have been such a big impact.
Well, equally, you could argue that the same story would make sense in a very modern era, where renewable energy is becoming much more of a, aware in the public conscience, and oil barons and petrol companies are, being uncovered to being more and more corrupt. It does fit with a lot of things happening in modern day life, but the thing that I absolutely loved about this is, and I wrote down just a little couple of sentences about how amazing I'd found this revelation, is that the original novel and the original character of Dracula is a story of how a bureaucratic and despotic count is literally bleeding the poor townsfolk dry. So he's taking all resources, literally taking the lifeblood away from them. But in this series, he's trying to drain other competitive bureaucrats in order to complete the same objective. It's Dracula versus the corporations, and I think that is fucking brilliant.
It's a really interesting premise that I quite like, and I feel like I maybe didn't pay as much attention as I really, really should have, because I missed the Order of the Dragon stuff almost entirely.
Yeah, to be fair, I did think that was a bit murky. Like, it was kind of, you had to really pay attention to sort of figure out what was going on.
There must be a sort of a secret society.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that I didn't notice, because I'm oblivious to the Illuminati and such organisations.
I don't think the Order of the Dragon are mentioned in the original novel. I mean, I'm not an expert on it. I have read it.
The Order of the Dragon was a real thing. I'm
was.
looking at it now.
Okay.
Maybe.
Maybe.
No, yeah, it was.
Ordo
From-
Draconium.
Yeah, from like the this last millennium.
Okay, I need to do some research on that because that seems fascinating. But yeah, again, I had a reaction to it much as I did with Penny Dreadful, like just the whole
Well, yeah, you love this. You
Gothic.
love horror gothic stuff, don't you?
gothic fiction. Like, you know, you got your Bram Stokers, your Alan Poes to a lesser extent, M.R. James, that sort of thing. I absolutely love it. So this, I can't tell you how much I've fucking loved this episode. And it's to the point I've already ordered the DVD, and I'm gutted that it's cancelled.
Yeah. Luckily, it's a very easy. It's not like when you're like, I quite like 24. How many seasons are? Oh shit!
Yeah.
Like with
Yeah,
this, it's
so
like, oh, how much? 10 episodes. I think I can do that.
It's going to be much less costly in both money and time.
Yes.
But what I really liked about it was how, I mean, obviously it does stray quite a lot from the novel. But I do like how they include a lot of the same characters. And I quite enjoy just watching it and trying to pick out who was who. So as soon as you see Lucy and Jonathan and Mina, that's exactly who I pointed them to be. I was like, okay, that's probably going to be them. And then someone says, oh, Jonathan. I'm like, yes, he's in it. But my favourite one was my favourite moment or character revelation, when it transpires that Van Helsing is working with Dracula.
Yeah, that threw me a
I-
lot. Because
I
all
could
I know
not
about Van
believe it.
Helsing is he's a hunter, right?
Yes. Well, in the novel and the 1931 film, Abraham Van Helsing's in it, and in Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Francis Ford Coppola version from '92, and even the Hugh Jackman one, because that was like my favourite movie when I was a kid. So to have him like walk in the room, I was like, oh, shit's gonna go down, and then he's like, mate, what are you doing? This isn't part of the plan. I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah, because it threw me a lot. Because I was like, but you're the stabby one. You're basically Blade,
That
but
confused me
old.
when the Kruger chap was doing his little vampire, and he had that coat with all the vampire killing kit, and I was like, oh yeah, so this boy's Van Helsing. He's going under a pseudonym, and then he died. I was like, this is probably not him. But I really liked the way that again, going back to the novel, Stoker lists, there's a very specific way you have to kill vampires. So it's like stake through the heart, then decapitation, and then stuff the mouth with garlic. And that is exactly what happens to matey boy Clive Dawson. And I found it quite amusing because like the chap, he's walking down the street and he's got his head in a box, and I went, it's literally a head case. But I did like the sort of the embellishments it took with history as well. Like I said, oh, do you remember the Whitechapel murders? God, that was a shame, wasn't it? We had to dismember it all to cover it up from being a vampire attack. I was like, oh, that's quite a nice touch. I did quite like that. I like it.
Yeah,
people
those little
play
touches
about
I
them.
like.
Like Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, well, the most recent Assassin's Creed does touch on the Whitechapel murders. You do them, or are involved in them, or something. It's weird.
I also, this is going to come up again when we talk about Vampire Diaries. I think a lot of clues were laid about Mina and how she has an aversion to blood, and she refers to herself as, oh, I'm quite squeamish, that sort of thing. I think given that the weird recognition she has with Dracula, but she's not quite sure. He seems quite sure of, you know, who she is or who she's at least descended from. But she's just got a sort of a fuzzy, hazy memory of who he might be. I think she's a vampire, and that's going to come back with, I think, one of the main girl in Vampire Diaries. I think she might be,
Yeah.
you know, if not a vampire, at least then descended from vampires.
I think, is it Lucy? I think at some point she will become a vampire.
Well, she does. In the novel, she becomes a vampire, and Van Helsing... Is it Van Helsing or Jonathan kills her? I think it's Van Helsing. Yeah, called it from a novel from nearly
No,
100
called it
years
from.
ago.
I
Over 100
watched
years
this episode. I haven't read the book. I
You
don't
should.
read
It's really
books.
good.
Yeah, it's yeah, maybe.
Or at least watch the Gary Oldman one with Keanu Nunu. That's very good.
Yeah, but like, yeah, I was just sort of like, it's the way she interacts with other people. She's like, because she just wants to like make progress through society or something. I got that impression, and
A social climber, I believe.
yeah,
they're referred to.
and vampires do quite well at that because they sort of don't die
Yes.
often, or normally anyway.
But I think I was very interested at the revelation when they're at the opera, and is it Lady Davenport? Can't remember her name. Jane
sounds right.
Weatherby, that's it. Who, she's part of the Order of the Dragon, and they go to the opera, and it turns out she's in cahoots with Dracula. So I'm excited to see where that's going to go and how that
Yeah,
plays out.
I'm interested to see if they'll try and, because I get the feeling that Van Helsing, as a man of science, will try and make Dracula's life easier, and try, because Dracula must be aware that like the whole sunlight weakness thing is really hindering his social life and business life. Because it was just that scene where he's sitting down with Jonathan.
The interview.
Yeah, and he shakes his hand. And he's like, my hand hurts because of the fucking sun. And then he like has to scoot his chair back, which I thought was super obvious. Because I was like, why are you sitting in the dark?
Well, I imagine Jonathan Harker's not read Dracula at this point.
That'll be where he's going wrong. He needs to read. He needs to read the source material.
He should read the book that's about him, or at least he's in.
Exactly. But it's interesting. My favourite bit of any vampire thing is that revelation of like someone, like everyone realising, oh shit, vampire. And I don't know why I like that bit. Just it's normally like only like a couple of scenes, which is like, oh shit, you're a vampire, and then they die. Normally.
That is exactly what happens in this, I suppose, with Kruger.
Yeah, like it doesn't happen as much in Being Human. Oh, Being Human was great. I think Being Human really like made me like vampire stories a lot more than I used to.
I don't really remember Being Human. Like I've only recently watched it all. I don't really remember that much of it.
It's really good. It uses a lot of like sort of almost generic vampire tropes, like the mirror thing. It ignores the sunlight one. I mean, it's set in Wales anyway.
Bristol?
Then Wales.
Oh, okay.
They moved to Wales.
Either way, very little sunlight.
Because, what's his face? The vampire kills a fuck ton of people. Including Lacey Turner. Who's Stacey from EastEnders.
Oh yeah, I thought I recognised the name. I just wasn't 100% who she was.
But no, I might, because there's not very much of it. I might just watch the rest of this.
Or Dracula.
Because I'm interested enough to see sort of
Where it goes.
the progression. And it's not like they're going to release more of it, so I'm not going to have to like. It's not. I have to catch up. It's I have to just watch it all.
Yeah. I really like it because it for parts of it is quite close to the novel, and as much as like you have the same characters and some of the mythology still holds true, but at the same time it's very different. And I think if you're going to do an adaptation of something, why would you do a straight page for page filming of the novel almost? It
makes it really predictable. It's what I like about the more recent series of Game of Thrones, is that it's just sort of season 6. It's just they're like run out of books. This is what we're doing now.
It's because should he write any more books, we're now going to get two very different stories.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see, you know.
It's going to be interesting to see who borrows from who now.
I don't.
And
I have a feeling that, you know, George R.R. Martin's not going to incorporate anything that's new from the TV show because it's very much his child. And
yeah, I don't think he's going to finish those books.
No, I've got a feeling it's going to be, you know, one of those great unfinished works, which would be a shame because it will be, you know, nice to see how it all ties up. But then again, you know, stories aren't always necessarily about the ending.
It's true. There's but yeah, no, it's always quite nice to see those like little differences, because then otherwise, yeah, you're just watching a story that you know.
Yeah.
Or reading a story that you know. And it's
Well,
I always find it very difficult to go from screen to book.
Yeah.
Because it's a much shorter process of watching a film or a TV show
and it's
than reading a book.
It's much more personal when you read it, but I'm sure we've had this conversation before with adaptations. But
yeah, on Chinese Meat Bicycle.
Yes.
Talked about it over there.
Yeah,
but there was four of us, now there's only two of us.
Yeah, it's because we're still ruling the castle.
Yeah, they haven't got in yet. I'm sure they'll find a way.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll probably have them on at some point. I thought it was, going back to Dracula, I thought it was quite enjoyably cinematic. Like, there's some really nice shots of Gothic London and particularly the fight sequence on the roof. I thought, and some of the ways the camera sort of just flows, and I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I
it's
think
a shame it's been cancelled, but you know.
I mean, I scrolled through and looked at the viewing figures. I can see why it might have been cancelled.
Oh, with it, I'm guessing it's not great then.
Well, it dropped to like, I think one episode was just like 2.4 million viewers. In terms of like a TV show, it's probably, especially because this is CW, isn't it?
NBC.
NBC. Oh yeah, it's Vampire Diaries, it's CW. But yeah, so I imagine for them it's not really enough. I mean, it is a shame. But then if they round off the series in a nice way, maybe it doesn't need to be longer.
No, that's very true. I mean, yeah, it could end in a similar way to the novel, you know?
Yeah,
Just,
I mean, that's the thing,
well,
we always...
he's dead now.
Because I think we always look at the success of something by how long it lasts. But then if you... Because I'm now starting to look at it as like, is it good? Rather than, oh, is it long?
Oh, I definitely think that, you know, a show's lifespan isn't necessarily a mark of how good it is. I mean, look at Spaced. It ran for 2 series, and it's one of the most brilliant bits of British telly there is.
Yeah, I mean, look at Breaking Bad. I saw rumours that it might be coming back last week because people still want more of it.
But you've got Better Call Saul, which is, you know, it's similar, but it's different. But I think they just need to leave it alone.
Exactly. I'm in the same boat of just leave it alone. But that was, what, 5 seasons?
What,
So
Breaking
not
Bad,
yeah, not long by any stretch of the imagination.
Longer than a lot of...
I mean, like, 5
British
years.
shows.
5 years is a good run.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Especially
Especially with how fucking brutal American TV networks are. Just like,
you can be mid-series. Nah, you're not doing it.
yeah, like, there was a show I started watching that got cancelled after 3 episodes.
What was that again?
What was it?
I remember you telling me about it, actually. And I was, you know, at least with British TV, you get the whole run of the series to try and...
Yeah, you at least get
drum up
the
viewers.
first season. It was called the Playboy Club.
You sure this wasn't on
Yes, I'm sure.
disreputable
I've-
website?
I've googled it.
Or
Only 3 episodes.
Oh, that's got to be terrible. If you know...
The thing is, they'd already finished filming the season.
Oh, God, that is heartbreaking. I wonder how they recoup the money from it then. Would they just go, put it down to a loss, never mind? Because you might as well show it for as much as you can, didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, actually,
I mean,
guess
the
if
whole
it did
season was
work that way,
only
they'd do
it was only 7 episodes, but still, like,
Might as well just give it another 4 weeks, see what happens. Might pick up.
yeah, that's the thing.
But we're not TV moguls, so what do we know?
Interestingly, it had more pilot episode, same amount of viewers. The viewing figures look equal to whatever we are talking about, Dracula.
Whatever it is you're on, but I don't really know.
But maybe it got cancelled for a different reason then. Maybe it wasn't just viewing figures. Protests.
Protest? I don't want to read into it because it might give away something about the plot. So if you want to go and have a look at it, go and have a look at why Dracula was cancelled. But
oh no, I was looking at why Playboy Club was cancelled.
oh, I see. Okay.
Dracula was probably just cancelled because of money.
Okay, I don't really care why the Playboy Club was cancelled, having never watched it, but was it good?
It was good. It was setting up to be... It probably wasn't going to get a second season anyway.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it seemed like it was an interesting... it was a different story. Or the same story in a different setting. But it's one of those things, I guess. But... Dracula, pretty good.
Yes.
Enjoyed it.
Definitely going to watch it.
I think I might have to, if I watch it, I think I will watch it, but I think I'm going to have to watch the first episode again.
Well, that would be a pleasure.
Because I feel like there was
a
an absolute bundle of stuff that I just didn't pick up on.
Well, I've sort of been into vampires and vampire fiction since I was about 12, maybe 11. So, I feel like I was a bit more well versed in it. So, to appreciate more, because having read Dracula as well.
Yeah. I don't actually know how I found this when I was looking for stuff to put on the list. Which is like...
Well, I think we were just looking for something to marry up with Vampire Diaries, and I think, did we decide that True Blood would be a bit too obvious or a bit too similar?
Yeah, I think it was good that it was a different... And I feel like there's probably a lot of crossover with True Blood and Vampire Diaries, and probably with Twilight as well.
Yeah, I have actually got the first series of True Blood, and it's got Rogue in it, but I wasn't a great fan. I don't know, I feel like vampires, they've had a bit of a tough time recently. I think it's largely Twilight's fault.
I think it was a lot of shows came out around sort of that like 2008, 2009 time.
It was in the wake of Twilight, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were just like, oh, vampires are big right now.
Yeah, and then it's all, love
it's
triangles as well.
Yeah, that's,
and it seems that's prevalent in a lot of young adult fiction. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot that, completely ignores it and isn't about that sort of thing. But, if I'd have to watch another thing, it was like, oh, look, it's a vampire. Guess what? He's really hot. Oh, does he, kill bit? No, he just drinks a little bit of blood. Does he? Oh, yeah, he's, fucking golden. Oh, well, that's good then. Guess what? What? He sparkles. He what? Oh, yeah, he sparkles. Oh, okay. Then you think of things like, the original Count Orlok in Nosferatu from 1922, and Salem's Lot, and 30 Days a Night, where vampires are shown to be even something as silly as From Dusk Till Dawn. They're fucking monsters.
Yeah. I think they always try and take this, even to an extent with this adaptation of Dracula, try and sort of reintegrate vampires into society. So it's like putting a predator amongst their prey, and just sort of like them just being like, yeah, no, nothing will go wrong.
Do you know what? I'm going to make a note of that. That is a really fucking good point. And I'm sure there's an allegory there somewhere, having the enemy hiding and a predator hiding in plain sight. It's all about paedophiles. That's what that means.
I was going to say Trojans, because that's sort of what they did.
I think...
I don't know, that maybe is taking it to an extreme. Just like, oh yeah, no, this is just a giant wooden horse. Don't worry about it. Go to sleep.
Present. And unidentifiable in modern society.
But I
Very
think
good, Richard. That was a very film studies thing to say. I'm very pleased.
it wasn't even intentional. It's just what I can see. What did you think of the cast for Dracula? What did you?
Lots of recognisable British faces. I was really pleased with it.
Good.
What do you think?
I thought it was a pretty good cast.
That was one of the notes I actually made in the columns. Put great cast because I recognised a lot of people, and I thought, they're all.
Yeah, I recognised the two girls. I recognised Mina and Lucy.
I couldn't tell you what from.
Arrow and Merlin.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I'd never actually watched Merlin, so.
I watched it because it was fun, pretty much.
Okay.
That was it, really.
Shall we shift over to our other TV show for this week?
Yeah.
Oh, mate. What was it? There was the eloquence of your silence said everything then.
It was episodic Twilight. It's what from the first episode. It feels very much like Twilight from multiple points of view.
Did you know that
No.
The Vampire Diaries was based on a series of books originally published in 1991 and 1992? So actually, this predates Twilight.
Oh.
However,
it came out in 2009. The
Yeah.
TV show. So
the spectre of Twilight is hanging all over this, and to be fair, perhaps this came out before Twilight. I'm not sure.
no, 2009.
And Twilight was
2008.
8? Well, and then books, before that. But
Yeah.
Perhaps they influenced Twilight somewhat. I don't know. But oh Jesus. Okay, so what
Just
have we got?
before we get into it, this was the most watched series on the CW until Arrow.
I was gonna say, what else have they got on there? Jesus.
Arrow. Well, until Arrow, I don't know. I never really heard of the CW until I started watching Arrow.
I don't even know what it stands for.
No,
It's not cartoon wet work.
it's just Deadpool, isn't it?
Okay, what have we got? So you got Eleanor and Jeremy, whose parents have died in a car crash, and then a vampire turns up.
Did they die in a car crash, or were they murdered by a vampire?
Well, this is the thing.
Because that's the thing. That was never really explained. Because there was like
I
that
think it's gonna,
opening scene.
yes,
It was like, some people in a car have been murdered by a vampire.
whose name were Darren and Brooke, because I read the newspaper article.
But other than that, like, that is never really. It's referenced like it could be their parents, but
I'm not sure that those two were, because it's as she goes back to school, she sees a newspaper article saying, "Oh, there's two people who died. It was probably a bear attack or whatever." But I think that some of Stefan's early, not dialogue, his early monologue says, "Oh, I'm basically stalking this girl." So I think it could become a plot point later in the show that maybe he or his brother were responsible for their deaths or whatever.
yeah, and it's sort of like it's hard not to draw the
Twilight comparison.
because it's just there. Like it's just a big, like, if I didn't now know that it was based on a different set of books,
You'd say it would Twilight.
I'd say this was pretty much just a stone cold rip off of Twilight.
Yeah, which is
that
it's
might
a shame.
change.
It must be a shame for the author of the books, because it's like, well, hang on a minute. I wrote a series of books about teenage relationships at high school, and then fucking Twilight comes out and becomes this huge success, and I've 15 years ago wrote a bunch of stories about exactly the same thing. So that's got to be a shame for her or him. I don't know.
Yeah. Vampire Diaries, 91, 1990, or 1991, 1990. I mean, to be fair, 4 books in 2 years.
That is cranking them out. I mean, we
Yeah.
know something about cranking shit out, but
Yeah.
Christ, that is a lot of work.
Like, every one of her trilogies and stuff, unless she just writes them all and then they just get published in those dates.
Yeah, could be.
But, nah. Let's
Anyway,
assume that's not true.
So, if we had a checklist, what have we got? We've got the extremely attractive bloke and the camera practically falls over when they meet him, and oh god.
Okay, should we just go through all of the like basically the plot of Twilight and just be like, okay, so that happens in both, that happens in both. So she has a monologue where she's like, well, I'm sad.
Yep, check.
She then starts a new school.
Check.
Or is it a new school?
Oh
Or
no,
is
I
it
think
just
she
a
goes
school?
back because she does actually know everything. But
Okay, so she has a first day at school, be it new or returning.
well,
and
returning after a traumatic incident. So
And then
effectively, it
and
could be
everyone's all
that's
like
new.
really nice to her and chatty, and then bloke turns up, signing up to classes, making sure that he's in the same ones because he's a creep. Happens in both.
It
No,
just
no, it
completely
doesn't,
falls
no.
for him.
Yeah, and then they sit in class, they look at each other a bit.
At least he doesn't look like he has to have a poo every time he sees her, as he does in Twilight.
That is true. And then he's all like stalkery and stuff, and just randomly turns up at a house. At least she's awake in the Vampire Diaries. That's
before-
5 things in the pilot.
Before we rip this apart, much
Oh, but
like
please.
a vampire. Well, no, I'm trying to sort of play devil's advocate with it here because I feel like this show might be an easy target.
I think it might be. There were, like, the thing is, I don't think this is for us. I really
Exactly.
don't think this is aimed at us at all.
This is exactly what I've written down. It's like, well, I was trying to be slightly objective about it. So I said, would I have enjoyed this as I was younger? So, and I very possibly could have done, because the first Twilight film, I was 15, 16 when it came out, and I went and saw it, and I was like, yeah, no, that's okay. I mean, it's not the vampire I'm used to. And
I went and saw it because they advertised it as the new Harry Potter. And it fucking wasn't.
That's an insult.
I know.
But
The only thing Harry Potter about it was fucking Cedric Diggory.
The other problem that I had with it, I was really hoping that, because so many of the conversations between all the girls, oh god, we haven't got boyfriends, isn't life fucking awful? And I really didn't want the boys to be the answer to all their problems, but ostensibly that sort of came true over the course of the episode, and I kind of wanted
feel like
Elena to have some agency.
I feel like one of those boys is going to be the solution to all their problems, and I think the other one is going to be all of their problems.
Or an alternative solution
Yeah.
to all those problems, like
Or
Jacob is in the Twilight.
Maybe some people can get murdered.
Well, hopefully. This is the other thing, is I wanted Stefan to be a really sinister character. Like, I really wanted her to be freaked out, like, mate, what the fuck are you stalking me? And not be like, oh, look, some fog, oh, I'm so in love with you, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
It was... Oh, then the music was terrible. The whiny, whingy fucking, oh, woe is fucking me thing. It was a big reminder of how self-indulgent we are as teenagers. Like, ugh. Oh, God. And the number of times he did the Batman thing, like where a character would be turning to walk off camera, looking over their shoulder. They turn to face the way they're going, and oh look, someone's there. The number of times that happened, I got really fed up with that.
Yeah. I didn't notice that because I was busy sort of just being like, it's Twilight. It's basically Twilight.
Well,
But-
the thing I did take away from it, I thought, it's very bland, and but it's kind of like Twilight with a better heroine, and not about how important it is to have a boyfriend. And thinking about it, I think it does have that message. Be like, oh, gotta have a boyfriend, but I think it's a bit better handled because, you know, Elena at least is more than just a mopey, useless teenage girl. She has a bit of agency about her. But I would have preferred for right at the end of the episode where, like, oh, he goes over to her house and she's like, yeah, you can come in if you like. I'd have really liked it if he'd have gone, look, I came to see if you're okay. And she went, oh, thanks very much, I'm fine. I'm going to bed. I'll see you later.
I like if they'd drawn out that sort of sparking of the relationship just a little bit longer. Because it feels like it was very easy for him. And obviously he's shown that he has the vampire, like, influence. Which is a cool touch from, like, actual mythos and stuff. That he was just like, yeah, no, it all looks right, doesn't it? And she was just like, now that you mention it, it does. It's cool. You can go into this class. How old are you? 162? That's cool, bro. Like, you should probably have managed to finish this by now. Are you sure you need to take history?
Oh, God, that teacher was a bit of a dick. He's like, yeah, look, I know your parents are dead, but, mate, get over it.
Yeah.
Like, hang on a minute. It's a bit harsh.
Yeah. And then he's just like, not shining armor, just like, yep, Mr. Teacher, you're a fucking moron. Which, to be fair, made me laugh because I was like, every kid at school wants to do that.
Yeah.
Just to know something that a teacher doesn't, just be like, yeah, well, fuck you, I don't need school anymore, I know things.
I drink and I know things. Damon. Oh, Jesus.
Do you think it's going to be one of those things where there is a big bad per season? Or is it going to be a more
like he's going to be the continuous
overarching bit? Like,
well,
because I'd rather see it just sort of be that. So it's almost like the hero shows that I watch, where they have like, this is your big bad, here are some problems, solve them, beat him, and then move on to the next one. But they can still like come back.
Very much how Buffy did it.
Yeah.
That was another thing that I read. The story of the whole vampire high school thing was much better done with Buffy, I think. So, but yeah, incorporating the whole big bad thing. I'm not sure, because I think a lot of the antagonism is going to come between the rivalry between the two brothers.
I think I was just reading about Damon's character. Apparently, he was turned against his will by his brother.
Oh.
So that might be why.
He's a bit annoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. But even so, it is camp as tits, his performance, isn't it?
Yeah, like it's... There's nothing like super menacing about, like, in that fight scene as well, where he's like, I'm gonna throw you out the window. It's like, so no one noticed that.
Yeah.
Like, two guys just flew out of a window and like, stood up in the road just like, yeah, I'm cool.
He takes the piss out of him. He's like, oh yeah, I really liked how you did the whole thing. And then 2 seconds later, he does exactly the same thing.
Yeah. What's weird is that they always... they have to make it obvious in a lot of things when someone's doing vampire stuff. Like in Twilight, it's like the colour of their eye. It's very...
looking like he needs a poo.
Yeah, I mean, it's very minimal in Twilight, sort of. Because it's just the colour of their iris is different depending on vegetarian vampirism or proper vampirism. Vegetarian. That's what they call it in Twilight, where they don't eat humans, but eat animals.
And he mentions that, doesn't he, Damon?
He mentions.
When was the last time you had something? That I did quite like that. When was the last time you had something stronger than a squirrel? I was like, oh, okay, so implying that the optimal
that vampirism is
human blood.
Yeah, and vampirism is basically alcoholism. Like, he's just drinking like stubbies, whereas all of his mates, they're drinking whiskey.
They're on the hard shit. That would be a really interesting interpretation of like the vampire myth, wouldn't it? If like the more they drank, the more sort of almost drunk they'd have got.
It's
I
touched
bet-
on in Being Human. Touches on that.
Yeah,
They
I
have a
was gonna
thing called
say,
Blood Drunk.
I bet. Yeah, I bet that's already been done. Never mind.
But Matt, we should have done Being Human instead of
we've got that coming up because we're doing as part of the whole American versus
American
the
UK thing. Yeah, that's cool because I loved Being Human.
It was good.
Yeah, I watched the American one as well. It was just like it's not as
Not
good,
good.
but I still like it.
I was just flicking through my notes, seeing what I can find. Oh,
Interestingly-
Vicky's dialogue was awful. She really irritated me. Like there's loads of fog coming around her, and then there's a crow, and she's like, "Jeremy, is that you?" Like, no, probably not. I mean, what is he carrying a fog machine? Is he
Which one's Vicky?
the one who gets bit but doesn't get killed, and then is like, "Oh, mate, fucking
Oh,
vampires."
and she wakes up at the end. She's like, vampires. Like, oh, that was quick.
But who is it? That Matt, who is Elena's ex. Well, that's one thing I do like about the show. I do like that you sort of, it feels like you've dropped in the middle after a terrible event has happened, and you're seeing the fallout from it. But he complained saying, "Oh, our relationship wasn't passionate," and I was watching him like, yeah, well, according to your performance, mate, it's not fucking hard to see. I really struggled through this. I really didn't like it.
Yeah, the thing, what was sort of nice about it is it's not difficult to watch.
Yeah, it's not difficult, but it's not enjoyable. It's like,
I think it's just easy viewing that is an hour, and you sort of go, well, I wasn't going to achieve anything that hour anyway.
yeah, just sort of switch your brain off at the door. Like, at least with the Dracula thing, I could, enjoy the references to the original text and everything.
The difference between what you took from Dracula and what I took was different because you clearly paid more attention than I did. Which,
well, I know that I like this stuff, so I was
and
always gonna.
I have no idea. Oh, I remember why I wasn't paying 100% attention to it.
Were you playing Factorio at the same time?
Yes. I was.
We've been together too long, man.
for both of them. I was playing Factorio and just stuck both of them on and just watched both of them.
Yeah, and paid attention more to your Factoria experience. Right, so this is Vampire Diaries. And that's done.
Yeah. What's weird is that I was just looking, like, for some reason now I'm like obsessed with looking at the ratings of things to see why it's still going.
Okay.
So season 1, I can see why they got to season 3, because like premiered with 4.9 million in season 1, ended on 3.4, started 2 on 3.4, ended on 2.8, started on 3.1, ended on 2.5 for season 3, but then from there it just goes down to season 7 premiered with 1.3.
Oh, so it is on its way out then.
Yeah, like season 8's gonna. I
Is that
think
just American viewers?
I imagine so. Yeah, and it probably won't account to anyone who watches it online.
No, definitely not.
But these are the numbers that they look at, I think. And like I think that with a lot of seasons now, like we touched on it with Dracula, like sometimes a shorter run is better. But I think sometimes a lot of networks just flog a dying horse with some of these shows.
Flog a dying horse or a dead horse? Because if you flog a dying horse, you still have some effect with it because you are killing.
Well, the thing is, like, they are still there are viewers there.
So actually, it's quite a nice little metaphor you come up with. Well, simile, sorry.
Yeah, but it's not quite dead yet. But if they keep going, it's gonna die.
Yeah.
At this point, they could maybe save the horse. But 2 more seasons,
With an
that
extra
horse is
few million
dead.
flogs, they might bring the horse back to life.
But it just seems like this. It's just steadily going down. But maybe shorter runs, like Thrones has now said they've got this season and 2 more. And that's it. until they realise they quite like money and make 2 more.
And like to keep friend of the family Ben Wilson employed as a cameraman on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
so as far as I'll tell you what, it would be interesting to see the Vampire Diaries audience put up against the True Blood audience and see who's watching.
it would be interesting.
You know what we really should have done is done Penny Dreadful with Dracula and Vampire Diaries with True Blood.
When we did Penny Dreadful, we hadn't worked out that it would be better to pair things. We're like, oh, like
What did
we
do
did that.
with Penny Dreadful? Was it it was so long ago now.
Inside Number 9? No.
You're listening to two people looking something up.
I'm not even looking anything up. I'm actually trying to remember. But
It was
another interesting fact about
I've lost
Vampire
it.
Diaries. The season premiered with the highest ever CW premiere at 4.91 million viewers.
Is that until Arrow came along?
No, until The Flash came along. Which smashed it with 5.7 million viewers.
That's not bad, is it?
Yeah, it's not bad. The thing is, because they backdoor piloted The Flash through Arrow. I basically just name dropped him in Arrow. Not name dropped him, the character dropped him. And then they were just like, they want this guy. Which is pretty
Critical.
cool.
It was critical that we did Penny Dreadful.
Yeah, should have found something else to do with it. Yeah. But at that point, we hadn't realised that it was better to pair things. Because we did, like, Supergirl and Agent Carter or something.
Yeah. Well, our first one was Breaking Bad and The Flash. So, 2 very different shows.
Yep.
But
But now we think about it, because we're great.
yeah, now we plan shit. So,
But
in terms
what do
of,
you think of the cast, I suppose, is something I'm now going to ask, even when I recognise that name.
Hang on. I just realised that I threw my Vampire Diaries notes away, didn't I? I don't think anyone particularly stood out. Like,
I thought they were all kind of sort of quite predictable.
yeah, all it's
Like,
sort of thumbnail
made
sketches
sense.
at the minute. But let's give them their due. It is a pilot, just a pilot at the minute. So, I did find it strange how old they all were, considering they were supposed to be in high school. But
I find that quite
know.
weird in a lot of American shows, though,
Yeah,
and
you
films.
find that. Yeah, you find that in a lot of places. But it doesn't.
Where, like, when they did Grease, half the cast of that was like 30 something.
Yeah, but that's Greece, and I couldn't give a shit.
Yeah, I think like with it's
Even
sort of
to the
another
Future.
suspension of disbelief, really, isn't it?
Well, if I can accept that there's vampires and stuff, I think I can probably go, oh, yep, fine, they're all in school.
Oh yeah, in this weird universe, you don't go to school until you're 17, and then you start primary school.
It did annoy me how like all the girls had perfect hair and plenty of makeup, and probably looking back on it now, if I went and watched Buffy all over again, I'd find the same things annoying, how beautiful all the people are. But that does continue to bug me slightly.
Maybe we could do True Blood and Buffy.
Now there's an idea. Currently, we've got it paired up with the X-Files, so we could put X-Files with.
All right, cool. Should we?
Twilight Zone or
What's
something.
yeah? What's on next while you're looking at that?
Next episode of the Co-Pilots podcast, so episode 12.
Oh, I
we're
remember what one it
doing-
is.
Go
Oh,
on.
I'm looking forward to it.
Go on.
It's Saved by the Bell
Yes.
and Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Oh, and I wake up in the morning and I love it of the morning and I think I'm gonna make it on time.
It's the childhood special.
I've never seen Saved by the Bell.
You fucking what?
I watched plenty of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, but I never watched Saved by the Bell.
Mate,
I'm looking forward to it. I've heard lots of good things about it.
it's
so-
so good. You might not like it though, because I might have nostalgia glasses for that.
Oh, that's alright.
But yeah, so that's what's next, and yay,
So
we did
that's
it.
for the undead, blood-sucking episode of Co-Pilots.
Yeah. And maybe they'll now write the Dracula Diaries.
Well, you'd say that. The book is written all in letters, and I think journal. Is it journal entries as well? I can't remember. But
I
yeah,
see.
I'm gonna do a bit of research about the Order of the Dragon. In the meantime, between doing Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Saved by the Bell.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm gonna go and
might
do.
watch Dracula.
Again,
Either that show or some of the other ones.
I will lend you, when I next see you, the Francis Ford Coppola one. And, oh my god, you have to watch some of the Hammer Dracula films. They're amazing.
Isn't that the Christopher Lee one?
Yeah.
I've seen at least one of them, or most of some of them.
There's one of them, which is Dracula Prince of Darkness, which I think was the first one of the first horror films I ever watched and realised I really like horror films. But
I think I've seen The Bride of Dracula.
Bride of Dracula? Hang on.
But I can't remember if that's Christopher Lee or
I
not.
didn't think there was one. Oh, The Brides of Dracula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I missed an
there's a-
S.
Peter Cushing was Van Helsing, and it was a sequel to the original Dracula, which did have Christopher Lee as Dracula, but it doesn't seem...
Does it not actually have
I
Dracula in
don't
it?
think he's in it, no. It's all about, strangely enough, it's about the brides of Dracula.
Oh, I see.
Oh, Christopher Lee says he refused to reprise his role as Dracula in a sequel. But he then did, I think, after this one, what year was this? 1960. Yeah, and then after this, he did Dracula Prince of Darkness, where he did appear, but he refused to speak any lines because he said they were so bad.
That I like stuff like that.
God,
Just like those little like trivia questions. It's just like, why didn't Christopher Lee talk in this film? It's like, oh, because he didn't like the lines.
Yeah. I got trivia about everything, mate. Do you know where the word trivia comes from?
Latin.
Yeah, Latin meaning three ways, so many different things.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Branch
Try,
and path.
as in triangle, and via,
Via,
as in via.
Exactly. Anyway, off of the etymology of words. So, yeah, we'll do Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Saved by the Bell for the next one. And then, well, I won't say what we're going to do next.
And then on to more magic stuff. Yay, magic stuff.
Magic?
And
Is that magic? It's not really magic.
Sabrina is.
Oh, yeah, no, that is. But I was talking about the week after. But never mind. All right, so, cool. Well done for getting through episode 12 of the Co-Pilots podcast.
That'd be great, but that's the next episode. This is episode 11.
Well, if you've got them on your iPod and then you're going backwards down the list, then it will be
Episode 1.
yeah.
Don't listen to him. It's episode 11. Next one will be 12. We're going in ascending order? Yeah, ascending order. We'll be back.
Yes.